Good evening and welcome to the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series presented by IRD Racing. We're here tonight for the Coca-Cola 600 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Practice is just wrapping up right now. Got about 10 seconds left. And we got a pretty big field, I'll tell you what. 17 cars registered to take on this 200-lap tilt here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series. Checkered flag is out for practice. Top of the board in practice goes to car number 13, Tony Curgel, defending champion of the Gen 4 Cup Series. Won it all last season and looking to have a good run in one of the highest pay-in races of the season here. Qualifying just beginning right now. And let's see who's first to come out. It's going to be Colin English first to come out onto the track. Last week was the All-Star race, and we had quite the upset with Jason Crumley taking home the victory, as he was the only car left standing at the New Atlanta Speedway. But let's take a look at our fastest man in practice, Tony Curgel, as he gets ready to do his qualifying laps, running nice and high, coming to his first lap. Gonna be full throttle through the quad oval, and let's see if he'll try to go for it lap one. Looks like he will. Going low into turns 1 and 2. The sun's shining right on that surface. I see heating it right up, making it all nice and slick. Coming out turn 2, down the back straightaway into turn 3. Gonna continue running low, so he's gonna try to get a fast lap on his first lap. Definitely going to have to see whether it's going to be a first lap or second lap. Coming to the stripe, let's see what time car number 13 sets. 29.302 for Tony Curgel, lap 1. Let's see if he can improve on it. Good corners through 1 and 2. Coming out of turn 2, rumbling down the back straightaway. That 13 car is looking mighty fast here in qualifying. Coming into turn number 3, we're still running a little bit high. Can he cut down on exit to gain a little bit more time? Exits about half a lane up top, through the quad oval, across the line. He's going to set a 29.077 fastest time on the board right now. So provisional pole goes to Tony Curgel. And let's see Mark Sakoshi, car number 8 in the camo Budweiser car, getting ready to finish his first lap and start his second one. Out of turn number 4 through the quad oval, starting his flying lap last time by was a 31.9, so definitely needs to set a good time right now to get a good qualifying spot. Coming down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. Tightly gripping that bottom lane. Floats up the track just a little bit. Coming out of turn number 4. Let's see what time he sets when he crosses the stripe. 29.276. Good enough for 8th for car number 8. So he's going to be starting right in the middle of the field. But another car we'll have to keep an eye on was second fastest in practice, Mr. Nicholas Pressey in car number 94. Starting his flying lap. Last lap set a 30.833. So he's looking to get all the time he can get. Remember, the pole time is a 29 flat. So Nicholas Pressey going to have to squeeze all that he can out of this time. Coming to the stripe, let's see what he says. A 29.013. That's pole time for number 94, Nicholas Pressey, as he's able to go to the top of the boards late in qualifying. Brian Wiggins currently 5th with a 29.151, looking to unseat that 94 from the pole position in car number 3. Comes out of turn 4 across the stripe. 29.153, so about equal times for lap 1 and 2 for Brian Wiggins. Not going to be able to unseat Nicholas Pressey from the pole position. So no one else looking to set a qualifying time right now. So, yep, it looks like it's going to be Nicholas Pressey starting on pole with Tony Kurgel on his outside. So warm-ups just starting right now. 5 minutes of warm-ups. But this is a good time to shout out series sponsor IRD Racing from Florida. So IRD Racing, an industry leader in fuel injection technology, covering all sorts of racing disciplines, from circle track racing to drag racing to even road racing. So they're known mostly for their carburetors, but they are moving up in the racing world, and with a stellar reputation and a great staff, you're sure to have a good time whenever you go to IRD Racing. So if you're looking to take your real-world racing program to the next level, don't be afraid to hit up the fine folks at IRD Racing. With their stellar reputation and great customer service, there's a reason why people call IRD Racing the king of carburetors. Very happy to have them on board to make this broadcast possible. But drivers starting to get their race setups underneath them. See, Colton English got a little bit tight in 3 and 4. Got up into the outside wall. Currently looking at the 17 of Adam Gracie. Following the 4 of Elijah Grant into 1 and 2. Jonathan Flournoy looking to make a mark on this league after an impressive all-star race got cut short at the end. So Jason Crumley spin in the back. The warm-up period is a good opportunity to get a feel for how your car interacts with the other cars, because dirty air is definitely a thing in these Gen 4 Cup cars. So getting a good feeling on how the car handles right behind someone else is definitely going to be critical, especially at a track like Charlotte, where it's hard to get some separation from other cars. Currently looking at series sponsor John Bittler, the owner of IRD Racing, as he navigates his way through 3 and 4 right behind Robert Wiggins in car number 26. Bittler, coming out of a strong performance in the IROC series, was very close to winning, but got involved in a late race accident at Atlanta. And here's last week's winner, Jason Crumley, in car number 28. Like I said, won the All-Star race from the fan vote last weekend at Atlanta, so definitely a big motivation booster for car number 28, and almost won the IROC race at Atlanta the very next day. Came home second in car number 28. So a possibly rejuvenated Jason Crumley looking to make an even bigger splash when he takes on this field during the National Sim Racing Coca-Cola 600 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Dawson Kent right behind him, actually tied with Jason Crumley in the fan vote, but since he locked himself in early on into the All-Star race, the tiebreaker was given to Jason Crumley, who had not locked himself in at the time. But cars 27 and 28 doing some, or at least trying to get some experience close to each other. In the warm-up, we saw Dawson Kent scrape the wall. Currently the fastest person in warm-ups right now is that number 94 of Nicholas Pressey with a 29.238. It's a very fast number 94, at least here in warm-ups. But warm-up slowly coming to a close here, as when it's over, we will get your starting lineup for the National Sim Racing Coke 600 on the screen. Looking forward to a great race that is sure to happen with this big old field of 17 drivers. Actually, 18 drivers, I should apologize. Or actually, no, 17. I was right. But 200 laps here. 200 laps here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And by my calculator's estimates, this is going to be a little over 90 minutes. An hour 37 for this race. So we got lots of racing up ahead. Without further ado, let's get your starting lineup up on the screen. Starting on the pole is going to be car number 94 of Nicholas Pressey. And on his outside is going to be defending series champion Tony Kurgel in car number 13, your front row for the Coke 600. Starting in third, an impressive qualifying performance from car 24, Dylan Lansdale, and even more impressive from Dawson Kent, car number 27. Starting in fourth. In fifth, running out your top five, is going to be the Atlanta IROC winner of Brian Wiggins in car number 3. On the inside of row number 3, and on his outside is going to be Justin Cope, who's had a very strong season thus far in 6th. Right behind him is Adam Gracie, car number 17 in 7th, and on his outside is going to be Adam DeFore, looking to have a bounce back from a pretty down season so far for car number 5. Starting in 8th. In 9th, it's Elijah Grant in car number 4, with Mark Sikoshi looking to claw his way through the field in car number 8, rounding out your top 10. First car outside the top 10 is going to be Colton English in car number 45, and on his outside is going to be the 56 of Chris Norris in 12th. And 13th in row number 7 is going to be Robert Wiggins in car 26, and on his outside is going to be James Young in car number 31. In 15th on the inside of row number 8 is going to be Jason Crumley in car number 28, and on his outside is going to be series sponsor John Bittler in car 88, looking to make his way through the field. And rounding out your field of 17 drivers is Jonathan Flournoy in car number 02. No, it says Garrett Hess right on the outside of Jonathan Flournoy, but that's because I accidentally registered for this race instead of spectating. So, unfortunately, I will not be participating in this race, but that allows me to have the pleasure of broadcasting this race to you. Coming through turns 3 and 4, it's going to be Nicholas Pressey leading the field of 17 cars to the start of the National Sim Racing Coke 600. Pace car is in. And we're underway here at Charlotte for the National Sim Racing Coke 600. Outside line did not get a good start at all. Further in the back, there's a lot of fanning out as cars trying to gain whatever positions they can from the jump. Pressey out to an early lead, but Tony Kurgel all over his back bumper. Pressey going to get towards the wall, so Kurgel can't make a run on his outside. Kurgel going to break early for turns 3 and 4. Going to try to sneak to the inside of Pressey. Pressey's going to have to drive off the corner, though, and going to be able to easily clear that 13 car. And now Kurgel with pressure behind from that 24 of Dylan Lansdale, as we get the first lap underway of the National Sim Racing Coke 600. Further in the back, Justin Cope has a very hungry Adam DeFore right behind him for the 7th position. Cope going to slide up high. DeFore going to try to sneak it under car number 59, and he's going to get the move made through the quad oval. So Adam DeFore already up 1 position into P7, working over Justin Cope. Nicholas Pressey from the lead set the fastest lap of the race thus far at 29.336, which should be expected from your leader. After all, he has the benefit of clean air, but those 2 cars behind him know how to work their way to the lead. So I would say this is far from over right now. Justin Cope still sliding back in, going from 8th to 9th as Mark Sikoshi trying to get his way through the field. He's up to the 8th position. But for 5th, we have a battle between Dawson Kent and Adam Gracie. Gracie on the outside looks like he's going to try to get the move made on Kent, but Gracie slides up high and gets into the wall a little bit. Kent going to use that momentum to get back around. Here comes Adam DeFore in car number 5, looking to join in on the fun. Kent running about a lane off that bottom lane allows Gracie to get clean air and as much downforce to the front end of that Chevy as possible. Kent going to go to the high side. Here comes Gracie in car number 17 all the way on the bottom, going to try to sneak around Kent, but Kent's going to have that run off the high side. And DeFore looking like he's going to try to follow that 27 around the 17. DeFore really stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, not really able to find a place to go. 3 wide here at Charlotte is pretty dangerous because the track is so narrow. But here comes Gracie with a big dive. He almost gets into Dawson Kent, but he slows up a lot in the corner. And now Adam DeFore gonna try to make the move on Gracie through the front straight. He's gonna be able to make it happen. So Adam Gracie trying to get a leg up on Dawson Kent, loses a spot to Adam DeFore. He's gonna have to regroup from that. Further in the back, James Young trying to hold off that 4 car of Elijah Grant for the 10th position. Grant really sending it into the corners here. But that's allowing Young to have a good drive off exit compared to that 4 car. As, yeah, Adam DeFore just still holding off Adam Gracie. But this battling is bringing that 8 car of Mark Sikoshi, as we saw DeFore get a little bit loose up top. And Gracie's still looking to the inside of car number 5. Gracie with a big lunge to the inside. He's going to get clear of DeFore and slot himself right in front. Oh, but a little bit of a slide from Gracie. Kicks up some smoke. And going to lose that momentum that he gained. But still going to be able to hold off that 5 car for the time being. And now he can work on trying to get to the back end of Dawson Kent, but a big run from DeFore has Gracie prematurely blocking the inside. But now everything starting to settle down a little bit. Elijah Grant all over the back bumper of James Young. Not able to make a move happen just yet. As, oh, big slide for car number 4. Turning on the intervals on the ticker right now. Tony Kurgel has slid back to about an 0.8 of a second gap to Nicholas Pressey. So maybe he's trying to save a little bit of equipment for this very long race. But for the time being, Nicholas Pressey out to a very impressive, almost a second lead. But further in the back, for the 7th position, Mark Sikoshi looking to the inside of Adam DeFore. Not going to be able to get to his inside, entering the corner, but through the center, he gets a big run and he's going to be dead even with that 5 car coming down the back straightaway. DeFore is going to have a little bit of a run since he's on the high side, but Sakoshi going to have a great entry into turn 3, and he's going to be able to make the move work on car number 5. The crossover going to try to come over from DeFore. Sakoshi to the high side, DeFore now on the inside. DeFore has to make this move work quick if he wants to hold off Sakoshi, and it looks like he might be able to make it work, but Sakoshi is going to drive it in deep on the high side, going to get a big run off that top side. And can Sakoshi defend against that? He's hanging tight with that number 8 car. As something's happened with Tony Kurgel. He might have gotten really sideways because he just lost the spot to Brian Wiggins. And the same thing with Justin Cope, who got a little bit loose on exit and lost a spot to James Young, and now going to lose another spot to Elijah Grant. Or almost did. Grant had to back out of it because Cope was sliding all over the place. You got to imagine he's really having a whale of a time trying to hang on to that car. John Bittler all over the back end of Elijah Grant for the 11th spot. Grant sliding up high. Here comes the crossover from Bittler, able to poke his nose down low and get the move made on corner exit. Nice move from Bittler to take the 11th spot from Grant. And looking to slowly carve his way through the field, John Bittler is looking to do, as he's going to approach Justin Cope in the coming laps. Elijah Grant running high in the corners here. As let's go back to your leader, Nicholas Pressey, who's pulled out about a 9/10 of a second gap over Dylan Lansdell. So Lansdell keeping within a second of Pressey. Keep in mind that before Kurgel had his little mishap, he was about a second within Pressey. So Lansdell has pace. He just needs to utilize it effectively, as he got pretty loose on exit right there. Lost a little bit of momentum. But starting to reel in that 94 car, at least for the time being. 30.586 last time by, almost a tenth faster than the leader. So it makes you wonder, did Pressey use up his stuff too quick trying to pull a lead from second place? And someone who's kind of just been following that 24 is car number 3 in position number 3. Brian Wiggins has pulled out to about a 1.3 second gap over fourth place Tony Kurgel. So really only the top 3, or only Dylan Lansdell and Brian Wiggins are within 2 seconds of the leader. Kurgel has already slid back to about 2.8 seconds behind that number 94 car. But long race, anything can happen within 180 laps. But Lansdell looks like he's really starting to push it right now, as he's catching that number 94. Gap sliced down to about, or was sliced down for a second to 0.6 of a second, but I think Lansdell got really loose, and he's going to lose the spot to Wiggins, who using that forward momentum, going to be able to get past that 24 car to move himself into the second spot. But now he has 1.3 seconds to make up to Nicholas Pressey, who has even more breathing room to work with. Lansdell lost about a full second getting loose on exit right there. That just proves how on the razor's edge of control these cars are. But if you can keep them straight, you can gain a lot of time compared to those who are having troubles keeping it straight. As in the back, for 10th. Bittler looking to the inside of Justin Cope. Bittler really loose on the bottom. Cope's going to have the run up top. So for the time being, Justin Cope going to be able to defend that position from that 88 car. See multiple lanes being run here. That's kind of the beauty of Charlotte. You can really run any lane that you choose. As Dylan Lansdell gonna slide back even further. He's gonna get passed by Tony Kurgel, as I think he might have clipped the grass and gotten sideways down the front straight. But Tony Kurgel back into the 3rd position after Dylan Lansdell has a little mistake. But I tell you what, Brian Wiggins is doing a good job of starting to encroach on Nicholas Pressey's lead. When he got the position from Lansdell, they were about 1.5 seconds back, and coming out of the corner, they're about just under a second. So that number 3 car is making up some time on Pressey. Makes you wonder if there's an element of fuel saving going on, but I don't think so, considering that Pressey is running that high side. I think that Pressey might just have a very good short run car, but when it comes to the long runs, I think that 3 car is looking mighty fine. We haven't seen one odd step from Wiggins yet. While we've seen cars get really sideways on exit, has not been the case for car number 3, at least not that we've caught on camera yet. But 25 laps are in the book here, 1/8 of the way through this race. Wiggins getting all the way up top in the center of the corner to cut it back down. Whoa, we have a car in the wall. That's Dawson Kenhard in the wall on the front straightaway. That's sure to bring out a caution. That car is absolutely destroyed, and he's keeping it against the wall. Very classy move from that 27 car, but that's definitely going to be the end of Kent's race. Let's get a replay to see what happened, because we were just on the edge of it, because we were looking at Adam Gracie, who was battling with him. So currently looking at Dawson Kent coming out of turn 4, getting dangerously close to that outside wall, gets loose right in front of Adam Gracie, tries to hold it together. Gracie really doesn't have anywhere to go, as Kent has a one-way trip with the outside wall of the front stretch. Hard impact for car number 27. But very courteous of him to keep it against the wall and not come down the track. But you can see with that collapsed right front suspension on car number 27, that's more than likely going to be the end of his night, as the first caution of this 200 lap event comes on lap number 27. Nicholas Pressey going to lead this field into pit road for the first round of pit stops. It's like everyone's going to elect to come in, and I believe the call is most likely going to be 4 tires, fuel, and maybe a little pit stop adjustment to get that car handling better. Pressey overshot his pit box by quite a bit. Took a little bit of time getting in. He's definitely going to forfeit the lead under pit stops, as we can see. At the very least, Kurgel is going to be able to get out ahead of him. It's going to be Wiggins, Kurgel, Lansdell, Gracie, and then Pressey. So Nicholas Pressey goes from 1st to 5th after a botched pit entry, and Brian Wiggins is going to be smiling from ear to ear off of that. So Pressy going to have to work his way through 5 very fast cars, or 4 very fast cars, to get back to the lead. So your top 5, as it stands, is going to be Brian Wiggins, Tony Kergel, Dylan Lansdell, Adam Gracie, and Nicholas Pressy. And then outside of the top 5, 6th through 10th, is going to be Mark Sakoshi, Adam DeFore, James Young, John Bittler, and Justin Cope, making up your top 10 here, coming to 1 lap to green on the National Sim Racing Coke 600's first restart of the night. Base car lights are off. We're going to be going green flag racing next time by. And it's going to be Brian Wiggins in car number 3 leading the field to the first restart of tonight's event. As I think Wiggins wants to take the outside line on the start, but nobody really knows what's going on, as it looks like race control has set the restart to single file restarts. So it's going to be a single file restart here in the Coke 600. So we will actually have one more trip around the sun before we get the first restart of tonight's event. Once they cross the start-finish line, the pace car lights should come out, and that will signify 1 to green. Race control had to extend the caution just a couple laps just to make sure that everyone knew that it was single-file restarts. So Brian Wiggins going to lead 16 cars all in a line. No cars a lap down besides the very badly damaged Dawson Kent, who's in pit lane right now. So all cars still on track on the lead lap. So we will have a restart coming to lap number 32 out of 200 here. So we're almost a 1/6 of the way through this race, but we will still have about an hour and 25 minutes of green flag racing if this goes green all the way. But with how some of these cars are handling, I would not be surprised if we get another caution from someone getting just really loose and clobbering the wall, similar to how Dawson Kent did. But pace car is going to come into pit lane, and it's going to be Brian Wiggins leading 16 cars to the first restart of tonight's event. Green flag is out, and a big stack up behind Dylan Lansdell. Lansdell did not get going compared to Tony Kergel and Brian Wiggins, and that's going to create a pretty big gap between first and second place. Second and third place, as Kergel is all over the back end of Wiggins trying to make something happen. You see Pressy shooting to the top, but Kergel going to look to the inside of Wiggins coming into turn number 3. Kergel is there. Wiggins going to have to run the higher lane, as Kergel going to force his way to the bottom. Side by side for the lead coming through the quad oval. Give that lap lead to Brian Wiggins, but Tony Kergel still going to be fighting as he's going to make a lunge further down the inside, going to try to advance his position, or at the very least be side by side with Wiggins out of turn 2, but Wiggins is going to clear Kergel from the top lane. So Wiggins going to be able to successfully hold off that 13 car for the time being. Dylan Lansdale has a whale of a problem right behind him. He's got Pressey and Gracie right behind him. As Pressey looking to use that short run speed to his advantage, and he's going to try to maneuver his way around that 24 car. But Pressey got really sideways on exit, going to have to forfeit a little bit of that momentum. And Adam Gracie looking to make a move to the inside of car number 94, but he just doesn't have the entry speed. And Pressey going to look to the outside of Lansdale, but Lansdale shuts the door. Man, that 94 car is looking awfully free. Looks like he's having a hard time getting that car under him. But I tell you what, it looks bad fast right now. It's just fast but loose. But looking to use that high side to his advantage. He's got Gracie on his inside. And he's going to hold off Gracie for the time being through the quad oval. But Gracie definitely making Pressey sweat a little bit. As Pressey is able to... Gracie gets to the inside of Pressey on corner entry, but the center of corner speed from Pressey is so massive that it's able to clear him. As you can see, that center corner speed working wonders against Lansdale. Pressey actually had to check up a little bit because Lansdale shut the door in his face. I think if Pressey can enter the corner to the outside of Lansdale, he has a great shot of making a move stick due to that fantastic center corner speed that 94 car has on the short run. As he's going to look to the outside of Lansdale, not going to be able to make it happen. Now he's going to try to peek to the inside, but Lansdale's doing a great job of holding that 94 car at bay. Pressey going to try a big run on exit. Big slide for car 94 as Adam DeFore looking to the inside of Adam Gracie. Battle of the Adams for for position number 5. Car 5 and car 17, Adam DeFore and Adam Gracie going at it for the last spot within the top 5. DeFore is going to get the move made on Gracie, so move car 5 into P5. But Pressey now trying to get a run down the back straightaway. Big sideways moment for both Pressey and Lansdale. Pressey really trying to build momentum out of the corner to make a move on Lansdale, but Lansdale is throwing just some great blocks. You can see Pressey trying to sneak to that high side on the exit of 4, but Lansdale is just able to cut off any momentum that Pressey is getting up there. And then whenever Pressey tries to go low to take advantage of Lansdale sliding up on corner exit, he's just getting too loose. So maybe the next time that 94 car comes into pit lane, maybe a little bit of tightness induced in that car is going to help him to place that car wherever he wants to, because he has a very fast car like we've seen at the beginning of the race and in qualifying. It just looks like the handling on it just needs a little bit of tweaking. You see Dylan Lansdale essentially fighting the same beast, where he's getting very loose on exit. But Pressey closing in on Lansdale. I think Pressey's running that high line to try and burn that right front just a little bit more, just to induce some tightness in the car. Because there's not much that you can do outside of pit stops in these Gen 4 cars. You can change the brake bias just a little bit, but I mean, there's not much that you really can do outside of brake bias changes. It's not like the Indy cars where you can change like weight jacker or the front and rear roll bars to make the car looser or tighter. You're really stuck with what you got until pit stops here in the Gen 4 Cup Series. But Pressey looking very strong as he's just waiting for one slip up from that very nice looking 24 car. But Brian Wiggins has pulled out to about a 7/10 of a second lead over Tony Kurgel. That 3 car has been on rails, it seems, and all that he needed was clean air, and he's extended that gap to about 8/10 of a second. Further through the field, Adam Gracie has slid back to the 7th spot as Nicholas Pressey got passed by Adam DeFore. He had to have had a really sideways moment. You know what? Let's get a replay to see what happened right there with Pressey. As he got really sideways in the corner, overcorrected, and brushed the wall. Very lucky that he didn't hit the wall harder, like a Dawson Kent situation. So maybe it's a good opportunity for that 94 to regroup, as got a notification from race control that Jonathan Flournoy went off track for a second back in 10th. Flournoy trying to hold off that number 59 of Justin Cope. But someone who has really benefited from the caution bunching everyone up is that 8 car of Mark Sikoshi. Car has been very stable from the 8 crew as he's looking to the inside of Nicholas Pressey. You see just how sideways that 94 car is in the corners. Say loose is fast, but it's a very big double-edged sword. Loose is fast, but it can make you go slow really quick. As Sikoshi moves to the inside of Nicholas Pressey, side by side through the quad oval. Pressey's going to have the advantage up top, but with how stable that 8 car is, oh God, you can see that 94 car trying to kick out, even kicked up a little bit of smoke on exit, as he's going to lose all that positive momentum that he had on exit to Sikoshi. Going to be side by side through the center of the corner. And man, that 94 car, wow, oh yeah, Pressey's really struggling with that car. Let's get an onboard look with Pressey to see what he's going through. Oh my gosh, yeah, look at the counter steer on Nicholas Pressey. He's having to turn it right, but he's still holding strong with that 8 car. Oh, big loose from Nicholas Pressey. He loses a couple tenths as he had to get fully out of it to focus on saving that car. But yeah, that 94 car is bad loose. And it's really hurting him in terms of pace, because now he's getting caught by James Young. But a car that has been untouchable ever since taking the lead has been this 3 car of Brian Wiggins. The only car to really threaten him was Tony Kurgel at the very beginning of the restart. But Wiggins was able to hold his own on the outside. And crossing lap number 50, Wiggins holds a 8/10 of a second lead over Tony Kurgel. James Young in car number 31 looking to move his way through the field. That silver car, very indicative of James Young. He used to run a silver number 69 last season, but switched to the 31. And I tell you what, that's a clean looking paint scheme on car number 31. Looking to put Nicholas Pressey right behind him, but not able to get alongside him just yet. But I think with enough time, Pressey is just going to get loose, and that's going to allow Young to sneak by him. Young all over his back bumper entering the corner, and John Bittler looking to join in on the fun and say, hey, I want a position for myself. But Young able to get to the inside of Pressey. Oh my good gracious, that 94 car is sideways through the quad oval. He needs more rear grip in that car ASAP. And if if I'm Pressy, I want to be in the dirty air of someone to tighten that car up. Because now John Bittler is looking to make a move on him. As Bittler overdrove the corner a little bit, slid up, but Pressy's running so high up to try to burn that right front a little bit that that gives more than enough room for Bittler to get to his inside. Pressy gonna have a mammoth run through the front straightaway and gonna get really close to the wall. And able to hold off Bittler for the time being. But we do have a car in pit lane. That's Robert Wiggins pitting on lap number 53. And he's going to go a lap down from Brian Wiggins. But something to consider is that maybe Pressy, if this goes green, for pretty long, you know, let's say we have a caution right now, and Pressy's able to tighten up that car just a little bit so it's loose on the short runs. But when this car gets tighter, as the race goes on, big loose from Pressy. He's gonna go through the grass, doing a little bit of Charlotte landscaping on the turf. He's going to lose 7th to Bittler and going to lose another spot to Cope. So Pressy all the way back down to 9th. But like I was saying, you know, if he can tighten up that car just a little bit for general stability, and if that car happens to get tighter throughout the race, he might have a really smoking long run car if he can get some pit stop adjustments made. But he has to get to the pit stop first, and these cars are quite a ways away from it. Looking at the 8 of Mark Sikoshi, who has worked his way into the top 5. Remember, he started in 10th, and I think he's one of the biggest movers so far, as he's trying to work on the 5 of Adam DeFore. As we look at Elijah Grant, who says that he just came out of pit lane. So it looks like some cars in the back trying an alternate strategy. As Gracie really slow in turns 3 and 4. He's gonna pull it into pit lane. So maybe these cars starting to try and get some more fuel in those cars. As Sikoshi gonna block DeFore. When DeFore has a big run coming down the back straightaway, does DeFore try to get Sikoshi a little loose in the corner? And it looks like it's not gonna happen. But in the back, we have a great battle for the 7th position between Justin Cope and John Bittler. Bittler able to Bittler has to concede the spot to Cope, as Cope got a great run on that high side. Further through the field, James Young starting to catch the back of Adam DeFore. And he's got Robert Wiggins right behind him. And Wiggins on a fresh set of tires, running about 7 tenths faster than James Young. I tell you what, James Young having a good run so far. Seems like whenever he has a good run, that just something seems to bite him. It's an ill-timed wreck or just a bad spin for him. Just tends to derail his races. But James Young really looking for a good run here, as Adam DeFore getting passed, not for position, but by the car 2 laps down of Robert Wiggins. So now the battle for 5th restarting between Young and DeFore. About 2/10 separating these two drivers as they fire into turn 1. As James Young really closing in on DeFore on corner exit, but coming down the back straightaway, they kind of equal out. Young gonna try the inside, gonna try to poke to the inside of DeFore, and he's gonna get the move made. I think DeFore is fighting more of a tight car. He has the opposite of Nicholas Pressey's issue, where that 5 car looks like it's pretty tight on exit, and he's having to really slow down in the corners to make up for it. So maybe we need to get that 5 car a little bit looser to survive more on the long runs, as Justin Cope now moving to the outside of the 5 car and gonna get that move made. So Justin Cope goes to the 6th position, and Adam DeFore drops to the 7th position. For the lead, the gap has shrunk considerably between Brian Wiggins and Tony Kurgel. It used to be 0.8 of a second about 10-15 laps ago, but now it's starting to dry up, and Tony Kurgel is really starting to put the pressure on Brian Wiggins. Last time by, a 31.3 for Wiggins, a 31.1 for Kurgel, and this is bringing Dylan Lansdell into the mix as well, as he's waiting in the wings about 0.8 of a second behind the leader. So Kurgel might have the long run car to beat, as I think Wiggins is getting pretty tight in that 3 car. We've seen how that car is very stable, but stable cars tend to get tighter as the race goes on. I think Kurgel has a car that's pretty loose that to start off with, but tightens up as the run goes on. As big loose moment as Lansdell at the edge of the shot trying to get his car under him on exit, loses a few tenths to Kurgel. But the field pretty spread out right now, as cars 1st through 12th all on the lead lap. The only cars who went a lap down, Elijah Grant, Adam Gracie, Robert Williams, and Chris Norris, all pitted. So maybe they're trying an alternate pit strategy to shake things up. But Tony Kurgel holding station about 0.3 of a second behind Wiggins, slowly chipping away at that lead that Wiggins has. And that's one thing about these long races like the Coke 600. If you have a lead and you're losing it by hundredths of a second per lap, by the end of a run, that car behind you is getting steadily closer and closer in your mirror. So an 0.8 of a second gap, and he's only about half a tenth faster, or 0.8 of a second gap. He's only about half a tenth faster. Within 16 to 20 laps, he's gonna be right on your back bumper, knocking on the door. But Tony Kurgel did not have a good turns 1 and 2. Gonna slide back a couple of tenths to Wiggins. And now the question is, when do these cars come into pit lane? Wiggins gapping that 13 car as Kurgel tries to regroup and set good corners again. As one of the lead lap cars is in pit lane, John Bittler and Colton English both coming into pit lane. They're the first cars on the lead lap currently to come into pit lane. And it makes you wonder if some of the other cars in the back are going to try the same as well. But a car to keep an eye out on is this 31 of James Young. He's out of the cars in the top 5. He is the fastest, as he does scrape the wall a little bit. but last time by 31 point, no time faster than a 31.3 for the top 4 cars, and James Young said at 31.1, but he needs to stop hitting the wall if he wants to keep that pace up, as he said a 31.5 last time by, and he's in danger of falling to the clutches of Justin Cope. We just saw at the very edge of the shot Colton English blend back into traffic as Mark Sakoshi makes the move on him. And this is going to slow Sakoshi up because he can't cut down to the bottom with that fresh tire number 45. And I think Colton English is going to have to pass Sakoshi too, as English is trying to get those tires up to temp. And this is good news for James Young. But further in the back, Nicholas Pressey starting to make a move on Adam DeFore sliding back into the 8th position. And Pressey getting by that 5 car with ease. Yeah, that 5 car seems to be really pushing tight in the corners. Back in second place, looking at Tony Kurgel, who's once again closing in on that 13 or on that 3 car of Brian Wiggins and trying to bring Dylan Lansdale with him. Jason Crumley now in the pits, as he's having a decent run for himself. Just fell out of the top 10 under pitting. But I tell you what, this 13 car, despite some setbacks, like having a couple of bad laps, is really methodically chipping in to the lead that Brian Wiggins has. But the problem is that these cars are starting to near pit stop length. And if I was Tony Kurgel, I would pit sooner rather than later to undercut Wiggins and get ahead of that 3 car, because we know that Kurgel, barring any pit adjustments, has the faster long run car than Wiggins. But an update on Adam DeFore, he's just entered pit lane, so maybe around lap 50 is when these lead cars want to start thinking about making the dive into pit lane. Tony Kurgel now lost a lot of time as he's fighting a little bit of looseness in that 13 car. Dropped back to about 0.7 of a second. But for 4th, James Young is really closing in on Mark Sakoshi and running about equal times with the leader right now. All he needs to do is just stop hitting the wall whenever I put the camera on him. But Brian Wiggins going to dive into pit lane. He's going to undercut Kurgel, and Dylan Lansdale is going to go with him. So Wiggins and Lansdale making their way into pit lane, and this really puts Kurgel on the back foot as he's going to lose time, especially with Colton English working to his inside. If I'm Tony Kurgel, I'm slowing down a lot to try and get to the bottom to pit. But Kurgel's gonna keep going. Actually, no. Now he's gonna slow down for pit lane. But that's a little bit of a blow for Kurgel as he got caught out by the leader, and James Young now inherits the lead. He leads the lap as he passes Kurgel in pit lane. But despite how fast that 31 is on the long run, he's gonna need a pit soon, because all you're doing running long is losing time. Big problems for car number 24. Black flag for too fast in pit road for car number 24, Dylan Lansdale. It's a pretty big hold for that 24 car, and to have it happen under caution is not good for him. Just served a 56-second pit stop, and he's currently 2 laps down. Now, he's most likely going to get one of those laps back when James Young pits. But either way, that puts him a lap down and in need of a caution to get back on the lead lap. Nicholas Pressey just getting back onto pit lane. We can only hope that they've adjusted that car just a little bit to not make it so loose. But James Young finally is in pit lane, and that's going to hand the lead over to Adam Gracie, who pit 23 laps ago on lap 60. But he's soon going to be swallowed up by Brian Wiggins, who is running about a full second faster on those new tires. And a big slide from car number 17 as the 3 car appears closer and closer in his mirror. Let's take an onboard look from Wiggins just to see the closing rate. Oh geez, and more big slides from car 17. But look at the difference in closing rate on those new tires for car number 3. Going to easily get past Gracie for the lead here. So Gracie starting to feel the effects of old tires. James Young slides back into the 9th position, but interesting update on Nicholas Pressey. He just hit the fastest lap of the race with a 29.3 on those new tires. So he might be a force to be reckoned with in the later stages of this race if he can catch up. But we can see Justin Cope moving past the 4 of Elijah Grant and trying to work further into the top 5. Just broke into it right now as Sikoshi gets past Grant. And Sikoshi is on slightly fresher tires than Cope. Nearing the halfway point in about 15 laps here. Well, your leader by about 3 seconds is Brian Wiggins. And he's just absolutely gapped Gracie with their tire difference. And Tony Kurgel currently second, or soon to be second, I should say, with how close he's approaching that 17 car, about 4.5 seconds behind the leader. But battle for 5th between Justin Cope and Mark Sikoshi. Sikoshi on the inside, Cope on the outside. They've got Jason Crumley right in front of them. Sikoshi going to try to power by on the bottom. Can Cope hold him off up top? Looks like that's not going to be possible. Sikoshi's going to wrangle 5th place from Justin Cope. But they're soon approaching, going to be approaching John Bittler, who's on about 10 lap older tires than them. You see just at the edge of the shot, John Bittler, car number 88. Further in the back, James Young looking to make a move on Adam DeFore for the 7th spot. You see Elijah Grant getting in the wall in the back a little bit. But Young having a very solid run thus far, and it looks like his real strength is going to be the long runs. We have a car around. That's Jason Crumley, spun off of the racing surface, so no caution called since it wasn't on the since it wasn't in the racing line. But let's get a replay to see what happened to car number 28. We saw that he was fighting pretty loose throughout. So they was fighting pretty loose throughout the entire race, and yeah, he just gets loose right in front of Dylan Lansdale and noses the inside wall. Great avoidance by Lansdale, but car 28 going to pull it into pit lane. And Jason Crumley not going to be following up his all-star win with a good performance here at Charlotte. James Young makes the move on Adam DeFore to move himself into the 7th position, but once again, when I put the camera on him, he scrapes the wall, and Adam DeFore going to look to the inside of car number 31. Young going to use that outside grip to his advantage and going to hold off Adam DeFore, and they're both going to soon fall into the clutches of Nicholas Pressey, who right now is the fastest car on the track. We're definitely going to have to see how that holds up as the run goes on, because we thought that Pressey was the fastest car on the track the last run, and he was just awfully loose. So we need to make sure that number 94 doesn't repeat history, essentially. But he's going to get around to 4. So Nicholas Pressey trying to work his way through. I think Nicholas Pressey would really love a caution right now to bunch the field back up. Whoa! We were just looking at Mark Sikoshi, who had to deal with the very sideways car of Adam Gracie. That's something we definitely need a replay for, as that was very scary. Let's look at Adam Gracie. Oh yeah, he clips the turf and just gets dead sideways right in front of Sikoshi. Great awareness by Mark Sikoshi to not hit him. And Adam Gracie going to dive into pit lane for a new set of Goodyears. Looking at Justin Cope right now, who has made his way into the top 5. Currently running 4th and trying to hang on to the back of Mark Sikoshi. But Sikoshi has gotten his feet under him since avoiding that. And, ooh, we saw Wiggins hit the outside wall. Sikoshi has got his feet under him and starting to churn out good laps once again. See Dylan Lansdell making his way back after that speeding penalty. But Lansdell's in a pretty tough spot. He needs to catch up about 10 seconds to Colton English. And Colton English is running pretty slow right now. No offense to him. But last time by was a 32.0 for Colton English. Last time by for Lansdell was a 30.6. Nicholas Pressey just getting past John Bittler for the 6th position and starting to work his way on James Young. Pressey, one of the fastest cars on track right now, currently 16 seconds behind your leader, Brian Wiggins. And running about equal times with that number 3 car. But the field really pretty spread out right now. As let's go through the field, coming to the halfway point. Your leader right now is Brian Wiggins in car number 3, holding about a 4-second lead over second place Tony Kurgel. But Wiggins starting to get pretty loose on exit. But Kurgel in second, about 4 seconds behind that 3 car. But he has a gaggle of lap cars to deal with. Then Mark Sikoshi back in 3rd as he crosses the start-finish line to start lap number 99. 1.5 seconds behind him is Justin Cope, trying to work his way to a podium running spot. And then about 3 seconds behind him, it's James Young, the last car within the top 5, and soon to be under fire from Nicholas Pressey, I'm sure, who is in 6th. In 7th, John Bittler doing a good job on his old tires to keep running strong in that 7th position. But Adam DeFore in 8th is right behind him and hungry to move up. Jonathan Flournoy has had a very quiet night in that 0-2 car, running inside the top 10 And I tell you what, he's just chilling. Not much to report on that 0-2 car, but he got really sideways through the quad oval. So maybe a little bit of tightening is in order for that 0-2 car. Behind him is Elijah Grant, the first car, 1 lap down, and then it's Golden English, car number 45. And then 9 seconds behind him is Dylan Lansdale in car 24, trying to recover from an early speeding penalty. In 13th, it's Robert Wiggins, whose tire gamble is not working out for him. He's due to pit pretty soon, as he's on 46 lap old tires, and that car is just all around not handling too well. Adam Gracie had to pit again after constantly sliding. The car was far too loose for him to handle, so he's only a lap down, but he's off cycle, and it's going to be pretty hard for him to get back to a good running order. And that's the last car 1 laps down. Then it's Chris Norris, 3 laps down in car number 56 and 15th. And then Jason Crumley, who we saw spin and hit the inside wall in 16th, 5 laps down. Adam DeFore slowly starting to encroach on John Bittler, cutting that time down. About 0.2 of a second separating DeFore and Bittler, but Bittler didn't really get a great entry, and DeFore is able to take full advantage of that, really closing that gap to just under 0.2 of a second between first and second. Not first and second, sorry, 7th and 8th. I was thinking of Brian Wiggins and Tony Kurgel, who are about 5 seconds separated from each other. But we have passed the halfway point here. 97 laps to go here in the National Sim Racing Coke 600. And DeFore having a hard time getting the run that he needs on John Bittler. 6 laps separating these guys on tires. But DeFore is getting a great drive through 3 and 4. Gonna really close the gap between him and the 88. Is he gonna try to go high to get around Bittler? Bittler protecting the bottom. But DeFore gets a big run down the back straightaway. Not able to get to the outside of Bittler just yet. But Bittler is going to brake pretty hard. He's gonna let DeFore by. He's actually gonna jump into pit lane. So Bittler biting the bullet and diving into pit lane only on 34 lap old tires, so he definitely could have gone for longer, but I think he kind of wanted to stem the bleeding, especially with other cars on his strategy like Elijah Grant coming into pit lane as well. But DeFore now having to deal with Adam Gracie, who's on much fresher tires, getting past him. But Dylan Lansdale still trying to fight an uphill battle for the lucky dog spot, as he is he's 11 seconds behind Jonathan Flournoy, who just went a lap down. So he's about persistently 10 seconds behind the car he needs to be on the lucky dog spot. But maybe with some luck, like if the O2, let's say the O2 brings up the caution or something, which is pretty unlikely, that Flournoy has been very stable. It seems for this race. Car 24 is going to have quite the hard time getting back on the lead lap. He's probably going to need, realistically speaking, he's probably going to need about 2 cautions. One to bunch the field up, and then he'll need to pass the car in front of him, and then he'll need another one to get back on the lead lap. But Dylan Lansdale just trying to get back on the lead lap, really put himself behind the 8 ball when he gave himself a speeding penalty. But that's a mistake that everyone makes. I've personally made those mistakes a lot, especially in big races like the Coke 600. Well, not specifically National Sim Racing Coke 600, but you know what I mean. This is a pretty big race, and we just saw John Bittler getting past that 24 car, although Bittler is 2 laps down. Adam DeFore has jumped into pit lane, as there are only 6 cars left on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap is that number 94 of Nicholas Presti, who is still battling a very loose race car. So that loose bug still biting the Achilles heel of car number 94. He's very fast on the short run, but it just seems like the middle run is where he loses a lot of that speed that he gains just through having a very loose car. But as the conditions are changing, track getting cooler, has more grip, we might see a new number 94 as, oh my goodness, that car was dead sideways on exit. And I mean, you gotta wonder, surely he has to like back it up a little bit, like, because when you are sliding that much, it really creates a bad snowball effect to where you slide and then you try to just power through it, and it happens over and over again, and you just consistently keep heating up that right rear. But it looks like now that we've got the roll bar cam on him, he's not sliding as much. And yeah, he's definitely modulating the throttle a lot more. But yeah, that car is all sorts of twitchy. So not an envious position for car 94 to be in, as he's going to get passed by Gracie, and he's got the faster cars of Colton English and Elijah Grant right behind him. But Brian Wiggins has been the car to beat right now. Ever since getting out of pit lane, he's maintained his grip over this field. It looks like undercutting Kurgel was the best plan of attack for car number 3, because he's still maintained about a 5-second gap over second place. But now we have a potential battle for 4th. James Young side by side with Justin Cope for the 4th position. Young in car number 31, that silver beneficial car, going to make the move on car number 59. And it's going to start pulling away from him. I think James Young has made some very strong pit adjustments to tighten that car up just a little bit. Just a little bit that he needed to get it not very loose. And I think for the first time this broadcast, when we put the camera on him, he didn't hit the wall. So definitely driving a very good race. We see him get a little bit loose on exit, but he has about 3.5 seconds to make up to Mark Sikoshi, which might be a little bit too tall of an order to do before these drivers pit again. As I think we still have about 13 laps or so before 13 laps or so before we see cars come into pit lane again. And I would not be surprised if we see some mega fuel saving going on, because let's think about it. These cars have to pit with about, say, 12, 15 laps from now. So that puts it at 67 laps to go. Let's presume one car is able to save 10 or so laps. That could realistically put them in the ballpark of stretching fuel. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, because with lap times this short, it's hard to save fuel without losing so much field position. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see people try to attempt a splash and go, just to get a splash of about 10-15 laps of fuel in the car to make it to the end and try and survive off of zero tires. But here comes Brian Wiggins into pit lane. As big slide coming into pit lane, able to get it slowed down as Tony Kurgel going to stay out, which is honestly a little bit bewildering to me, because that 13 car is just going to be losing more time. And he had the benefit of hindsight. He has like the benefit of being 5 seconds behind to know when the leader is coming in. And he's gonna come in right now. So 1 lap behind. That's gonna put him about another second behind Wiggins. But Tony Kurgel in pit lane is going to forfeit the lead to James Young, car number 31, looking to get a couple of points for leading a lap. With 79 laps to go, this is definitely not the final pit stop. We see James Young hopping into pit lane, and that car's all sorts of sideways, hits the commitment cone, and that is going to ruin the race of James Young. Came in too hot, hit the commitment cone, and gets a penalty for too fast entering pit lane. Gotta be heartbreaking for car 31, who seems like he just can't catch a break whenever he has a good run going. But Justin Cope gonna dive into pit lane. Nicholas Pressey in pit lane as well. And it looks like with that, that's gonna give the lead to Brian Wiggins, waiting for him to cycle through. As Justin Cope still in pit lane. So yeah, Wiggins going to cycle to the front. And now that gap between Wiggins and Kurgel, because Wiggins pit earlier than Kurgel, is going to be about 6 seconds. It seems like 45 to 50 laps is the 45 to 50 laps is the strategy, and I think the pit strategy for Wiggins is going to be pit as soon as you can make it for fuel. So it's going to be about 30 laps from now, I'd say, with about 45 to go. 45 to 43 to go, we'll see Wiggins pit again and take his last pit stop. And then really the question is, do you try to stretch it out longer, or do you just split it in half? But assuming we don't get any cautions, I mean, this field is really spread out. Only 7 cars on the lead lap at the moment. Nicholas Pressey is the last car on the lead lap, and he's going to have a big run on John Bittler right in front of him. Oh, he's going to have a hard time getting past Bittler with Lansdell right in front of him. Pressey going to try to go to the high side, but so is Lansdell. Oh, that was really scary for car number 94. Able to get past Bittler, but not able to get past Lansdell just yet. And Pressey trying to find a way past Lansdell, who is a lap down. And trying to get in the lucky dog spot, but oh, Pressy scrapes the wall a little bit. So that's not good for him. Let's go further through the field. Or rather, one car up to Dylan Lansdale, who is catching the back end of Adam Gracie. This is for position. Lansdale looking to get 10th spot from Adam Gracie. Lansdale about a 10th of a second faster per lap than that 17 car. You can see Chris Norris on the apron. He looks like he's going to be heading into pit lane. But Lansdale with a big run out of the corner. He's going to be to the inside of Gracie entering 1 and 2, right in front of Nicholas Pressy. Not what Pressy wants to see, but Gracie gets a good run out of the corner. Pressy going to try to follow him through. But Lansdale almost able to clear that 17 car, and now is going to be able to sideways for Gracie right in front of Pressy. That 17 car is still as skittish as ever, but Lansdale's going to get the move made for the 10th position. As Tony Kurgel currently running faster laps than Brian Wiggins. At least last time by, he was about a 10th faster. But he needs to keep that speed up. And if he's able to do that, he'll cut the gap to about a second and a half by the time Wiggins comes into pit lane. But things seeming a little bit bleak for car number 13. Wiggins just really needs to hope that a caution doesn't come out in these next 68 laps. Now, I honestly would not be surprised to see him pit with about 35 to go here to make it, to just stretch out his fuel. Because the thing with Wiggins is that he has the luxury of being able to choose whatever strategy he wants. If he wants to stretch it out longer, he can choose to do so, since he has a 4.5 second gap over 4.5 second gap over Tony Kurgel. But Adam DeFore back in the 5th position right now. Having, by all intents and purposes, a pretty quiet race. Just not much happening for that 5 car. Although he's got Nicholas Pressy going really fast right behind him. Lansdale peeking to his outside. And I think Pressy's going to try to follow Lansdale around the high side. DeFore not able to really block that 94 car, as Pressy's going to take 5th place away from Adam DeFore. So Pressy seems to, knock on wood at least, have gotten rid of the gremlins that was making that car pretty loose. And he's setting some really fast times, setting times about equal with Brian Wiggins and Tony Kurgel. Actually, last time by, he was faster than the leader, but being 23 seconds behind is not helping him at all. If we get a caution, that's really going to turn this race on its head, because that would put Pressy back in the hunt for this. And since cautions breed more cautions, it would definitely not be out of the question for him to carve his way through the field. But just a straightaway behind him is the leader, as Wiggins made his first little oopsie of the night, scraped the wall trying to widen up his entrance into turn 1. It's a little bit too much, but besides that 3 car is still absolutely flying. Justin Cole having a very good run so far, running on pace with the leaders back in 4th, but he's still about 20 seconds behind the leader as we approach 60 laps to go here in the Coke 600. And with everyone running about 30-second lap times, still got about 30 minutes of green flag race in here. But let's take a roll bar shot of our leader, Brian Wiggins, and let's have a little bit of a crank it up. Tell you what, that onboard shot is smooth as butter in terms of wheel work for car number 3. Not really a lot of counter steer going on for him, and that has really been the secret to Wiggins being so fast. Tony Kurgel trying his best to reel in that gap. He's closed in from about 5 seconds to 4 seconds. So that suggests to me that he might have more long run speed than Wiggins, but time might be running out for car number 13. We have 56 laps to go here in the Coke 600, almost about to enter the final quarter of this long race. Only 5 cars are on the lead lap right now. Last car on the lead lap being Nicholas Pressey, who is still running about equal times with the leader. It's just that he is 23 seconds behind him, and still needs that elusive caution. It seems to not be granted to him. But still, a top 5 run for him is very solid. But I tell you what, someone who's starting to haul ass is that number 13 of Tony Kurgel. Last time by 30.75 for Kurgel. Last time by for Brian Wiggins 30.86. And keep in mind, these drivers didn't really have anyone in front of them last time by. So Kurgel's almost about 1/10 of a second per lap better than Wiggins. This will be a very interesting development to monitor because 53 laps to go, a 3.5 second gap between Kurgel and Wiggins, closing in by a little less than a tenth per lap. That's something to watch, and maybe by the end of this, Kurgel might have played the game perfectly. But we still have to wait and see. And I think it will really be up to when Kurgel decides to come into pit lane, because he cannot afford to pit a lap later than Brian Wiggins. Because that is just going to lose him a full second and a half. And will he be able to make up a tenth per lap with an extra second and a half added into the mix? That's going to be very tough for anyone, especially especially under the pressure of trying to win the Coke 600. Last time by about a half-tenth faster than Wiggins. Kurgel is really starting to dig. Further in the back, we have James Young, who I was speaking so highly of, and then he got that pit road penalty. Currently running in 10th. Last car in the top 10 got passed by John Bittler. So Bittler is having a top 10 performance for himself. But I think in about 10 laps, we will see these leaders come into pit lane. And Brian Wiggins really has to be perfect. The pressure is on because Kurgel is closing with more than enough time to make it happen. But, oh, man, Tony Kurgel had a terrible lap last time. I think he was trying to get by the 45 of Colton English, who is on fresher tires. Ran a 31.7. Oh, my goodness. Kurgel lost about 7/10 of a second to that. And, oh, geez. As when you're trying to hunt down the leader, that is one of the most frustrating things when someone does not know the circumstances. That is a huge help for Wiggins, who essentially just got a free second on Tony Kurgel. 47 laps to go here. It's not over, but that is going to be very tough for that 13 car to overcome. Now, if I'm Kurgel, do you pit in the next 2 laps to make up that time loss and then try your best to hold on to about a 5-second lead or so? Because we know that these cars can go to about 45 laps before they have to pit. And with 45 laps to go, you're about 4 seconds behind the leader. That's very enticing to try and come into pit lane, run like hell, and maintain that gap. And if I'm Tony Kurgel, that's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to catch Wiggins by surprise as much as possible. You have an 8-second gap to Mark Sikoshi. So both Wiggins and Kurgel are pretty free to do as they please when it comes to pit strategy. But Wiggins still maintaining about a 4-second lead over Tony Kurgel, running about equal lap times now. But I think really the only cars in contention for this, if a caution does not come out in these last 43 laps, is Brian Wiggins and Tony Kurgel. Mark Sikoshi is just on the edge of it being plausible. But even if he even if he drives the best laps of his life coming out of pit lane, he would still just barely be above or barely be ahead of Wiggins. But Mark Sikoshi going to try to roll the dice and come in on lap number 37. Maybe he'll try to get a spot off of Kurgel. Once this all shakes through. But Justin Cope coming in as well. Nicholas Pressey's still staying out. So he's going to move to the 3rd spot. But Pressey really doesn't have a whole lot to lose. He got really sideways next to Adam DeFore. I was looking at my timing screen for a second. But 41 laps to go here at Charlotte. And here comes Wiggins into pit lane. So Wiggins really going to undercut this. Kurgel's already in. So Kurgel coming in 1 lap before Sikoshi. Or not before Sikoshi, before Wiggins, I apologize. So that's going to be about a second made up on Brian Wiggins. But a full tank of fuel, and with how sideways that car is, I think Kurgel might have made a pit adjustment to make it just a smidge looser so that he can really rip this car around and essentially run qualifying laps here. It's going to be up to how Kurgel catches up to Wiggins. And Wiggins with a really slow exit. Here comes Kurgel around the outside. Lead change with 40 laps to go. Tony Kurgel is able to snatch the lead from Brian Wiggins. This is huge for Kurgel with 40 laps to go. He's able to jump Brian Wiggins with, he had about a half a second better pit stop. And it looks like he just got out of pit lane a lot better. Yeah, he saved an entire second on pit lane. But now the pressure is on Brian Wiggins to run the best laps that he can with a 2-second gap to Tony Kurgel. Kurgel just at the fastest lap of the race, a 29.298. So that 13 car is absolutely flying. About half a second faster than Wiggins last time by. And yeah, Kurgel is essentially doing qualifying laps now. He is absolutely ripping that car around this track. 29.563 for Kurgel, but Wiggins is starting to match that. And the question is, can Kurgel hold on to it? Can Wiggins make up about 2 seconds to the back of car number 13? With 36 laps to go, it's definitely possible, but Wiggins needs to be running about 0.07 of a second per lap faster than that 13 car, which to his credit, he is. Last time by 29.77 for Tony Kurgel, last time by for Wiggins 29.68. So if he keeps running this pace, just under a tenth faster than Kurgel, he'll be able to hold on to it. But last time by was an absolute screamer for Tony Kurgel, 29.49 for car number 13, and a 29.62 for Wiggins. Kurgel able to dispatch Chris Norris in car number 56. So Norris gets his 21st time lapped by the leader. And man, that 13 car is absolutely flying right now. Lost about a 10th trying to get around the 56, and now he's able to dispatch Robert Wiggins very easily. Gap between first and seconds hovering about 2.1 seconds. But I'd say that Kurgel is doing a great job of dispatching lap traffic. The only car that it really had an issue with was Chris Norris, and all it required was a little itsy-bitsy checkup on exit. And Kurgel gonna try to get around Elijah Grant to be free of lap traffic. Had to check up just a little bit on entry to not hit that 4 car, but he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it work. So now it's up to Brian Wiggins, as he was just slightly faster last time by. He needs to be setting faster laps than Tony Kurgel without any mistakes, and to outlast Tony Kurgel on the tires, because there's only about a lap of difference between these two drivers. But I'll tell you what, Wiggins is doing his best to try to make this race interesting. About half a tenth faster last time by for Wiggins. That's not enough to, if he does it every lap, to catch up to Kurgel. And he still has to get around. He still has to get around the 24 of Lansdell. 30 laps to go in the Coke 600 here. Lap 171 out of 200. As Jonathan Flournoy just made a pass on Adam Gracie. Gracie pulling into pit lane. So Flournoy with a pretty good run inside the top 10, currently running 7th. But all eyes are on car number 13, who just matched Brian Wiggins in terms of lap time. This is bad news for Wiggins, who needs to be consistently running just under a 10th faster per lap, and matching lap times is not gonna cut it. The more laps that gets run, the more Wiggins is going to need some sort of mistake. And yeah, Wiggins just ran slower than Kurgel, so maybe a late race pit adjustment was the deciding factor for Kurgel, but it definitely was a better pit stop and a better strategy, because Kurgel pit 1 lap before Wiggins and was able to undercut Wiggins to get about a second back just from lap time, and then another second just from a very optimized pit road from car number 13. "27 laps to go, and the field very spread out, but we still have a race, as Wiggins has broken within 2 seconds of Tony Kurgel with 26 laps to go here. I think something that would really help Wiggins is if Lansdell is able to catch Kurgel and pass him, and maybe battle for a little bit, since Lansdell is on slightly fresher tires than Kurgel. and is catching that 13 car, but Wiggins really needs Lansdell to really battle with Kurgel here. Kurgel going to be running the high line. Here comes Lansdell trying to get one of his laps back. And this is exactly what Wiggins wants to see. He wants to see these two cars battling. Lansdell had to back out of it, but that granted Wiggins about 0.4 of a second to Kurgel. And man, Wiggins is closing. Dylan Lansdell has really turned this race on its head, because him battling Kurgel is allowing Wiggins to catch up to the 13 car. Just over a second separating first and second place. Kurgel having to run a defensive line to make sure that 24 car doesn't get alongside of him, and it's really compromising him, because that three of Wiggins is really closing, and now they're in the same camera shot. Kurgel loose on exit. Here comes Lansdell to the outside to try to get his lap back. And this is perfect for Brian Wiggins. This is exactly what he wants to see. As Lansdell able to get around Kurgel. So now Brian Wiggins has made up about 2 seconds in car number 3 to catch up to the back end of Tony Kurgel, and now he just needs to make up 0.4 of a second in 21 laps. That gives him so much more wiggle room, and I think that if Brian Wiggins wins this, he has to give Dylan Lansdell a very big thank you, because that really held up Kurgel quite a lot. And now they approach the slow car of Colton English. Both drivers able to get around him without too much of a fuss. Williams was able to do it slightly better, made about 0.5 into turn 1. And he's within drafting distance of that 13 car. Now it is a game of who saved up their stuff better. Within 20 laps to go, 19 to go on the board, and we have a battle for the lead between Kurgel and Brian Wiggins. The defending series champion versus the new team owner in the offseason. Brian Wiggins looking to put his name into the Coke 600 history here in National Sim Racing. But still gridlocked about 0.4 of a second behind Kurgel. Wiggins going to try the top side, trying to get a big run to catch up to that 13 car. And hasn't really helped him too much. But really, Wiggins needs to do is just not get in the dirty air of Tony Kurgel. But Wiggins got loose running the high side, lost about 0.1 to car number 13. But now Adam Gracie is starting to catch these drivers, and he's on about 10 lap fresher tires than Kurgel and Wiggins. Wiggins really needs Gracie to get by him really fast, and then to hold up Kurgel just a little bit. Wiggins going to go to the high side to let Gracie by. Gracie's going to almost clear Wiggins. That's not what he needs. Now Gracie's going to move ahead of Wiggins, but it cost Wiggins about 0.2 of a second to the back end of Kurgel. Kurgel now has a 0.7 of a second gap. So now Wiggins really needs Gracie to battle hard with the 13 car. As well, big send on the bottom for Gracie. That compromised the exit for Kurgel quite a bit. As Gracie gonna look to the inside of Kurgel, gonna get clear of car number 13, but that pretty much resets what I was about to say. That resets the battle, but a big sideways moment for Brian Wiggins sends him about now back to about 0.6 backwards, and that's gonna take an effect on his tires. Those tires are really heated up, and that's the first time we've seen that 3 car super loose. So with 13 laps to go, does Wiggins have anything in the tank to catch up to Kurgel after that big slide on the exit of turn 2? See, Wiggins trying to use up all of that track, but I think it's only hurting him. He really hasn't run up top all that much, but Kurgel had a yab on the brakes a little bit because of the slow Chris Norris, and it slowed Kurgel up about 1/10. As we only have 5 cars on the lead lap. Pressie's still the last car on the lead lap in 5th, but everyone inside the top 5 is on the lead lap with 11 laps to go here. Dylan Lansdale has finally gotten back into the lucky dog spot, but with 11 laps to go, he's going to need a caution quick to be in contention for the win. And I think just too much time has passed for that to be possible. 2 high fives in the air for 10 laps to go, as Tony Kurgel pulled away to about a 1.1 second gap over Brian Wiggins. Now Wiggins having to deal with John Bittler and Adam DeFore right behind him. These guys on much fresher tires, and I think Wiggins just used up his stuff too much trying to catch Kurgel. As the gap has now expanded to about 1.5 seconds. So Kurgel able to breathe a little bit easier now that the 3 car is a safe distance behind. But I tell you what, he is still ripping some fast laps. 30.9 last time by for Kurgel. And last time by for Nicholas Pressie, who is one of the fastest cars on the long run. A 31.3. So Kurgel did something to make that car absolutely fly at night. Tell you what, once the lights got turned on and the sun went down, car 13 has been super fast. And Kurgel has been doing a great job of navigating lapped traffic, both faster and slower lapped traffic. And yeah, Wiggins really starting to fall off of Kurgel. I think he tried to do the best that he can, and it just ended up burning up his stuff, while Kurgel had the luxury of being able to save tires a little bit for the long run. But Kurgel coming under fire from John Bittler with 6 laps to go here in the Coke 600. Kurgel lets Bittler by, no problem. He has more than enough space to Brian Wiggins to let that 88 car by. 5 laps to go here in the Coke 600. You can see just at the bottom of the screen for a second, that's Nicholas Pressey. Nicholas Pressey might actually go a lap down. Looks like his pace kind of fell off as the track got colder. He's actually on fresher tires than the leader, but by about 2 laps. But I think Kurgel's been doing such a good job of keeping the tires on it that he has been running very fast laps. You can definitely tell that Kurgel has eased out of it just a little bit. We can see Gracie all over the track, just at the edge of the shot down the backstretch, but able to keep it straight. 3 laps to go here, just about, in the Coke 600. And all Tony Kurgel needs is the caution not to come out, as, whoa, Pressey got really sideways through the quad oval right in front of him, right behind John Bittler. This race closing to an end, the longest race of the season, coming to a close here. 200 laps around the 1.5 mile long Charlotte Motor Speedway, leading to 300 miles of racing here. 2 to go for Tony Kurgel as he approaches the back end of Nicholas Pressey to lap everyone up to 5th. Pressey in the wall a little bit, still side by side with Kurgel. Pressey in the wall again, dead even down the back straightaway into turn 3 and 4. Pressey still hanging strong around the outside, but it's a losing battle for him because he's fighting not to go a lap down. But white flag in the air for Tony Kurgel. He was in second for the majority of this race, played his cards right on the pit strategy gamble, and was able to capitalize off of a slow Brian Wiggins pit stop. And all he needs to do is just make it through final corners of turns 3 and 4. And he's got it made. Tony Kurgel comes from behind to win the Coke 600 in the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series. Great win by car number 13 over Brian Wiggins. And man, he is going to be one tired winner after this, because this was one long race. 200 laps, 300 miles, and at the end of it, Tony Kurgel comes out smelling like a bunch of roses as he's going to take home the win here at Charlotte. But the race gone official. And let's get your finishing results up on the screen. Taking home the victory is Tony Kurgel in car number 13. Leading most of the race and coming home in second is Brian Wiggins. Led a lot of laps. Just the last pit stop did not go his way. Mark Sakoshi comes up from about 10th spot and finishes in the podium. Good run for him, although very, very quiet. Justin Cope, similar story for him, finishes in 4th. And Nicholas Pressey started on pole, and that car was just not handling well. A devilishly handling race car for Nicholas Pressey puts him as the last car on the lead lap in 5th place. First car outside of the top 5 is going to be Dylan Lansdale, recovering from an early speeding penalty to be the first car 1 lap down in 6th. And Jonathan Flournoy, a solid run from him to finish inside the top 10 in 7th. Adam DeFore finishes in 8th. And James Young could have had a much better race if he didn't get a late race speeding penalty, dropping him back to 9th. Adam Gracie had a car that did not handle well at all, and he will be the last car to finish inside the top 10. First car outside the top 10 is going to be John Bittler, who got bitten by pit strategy, and then Colton English in 12th. Jason Crumley in 13th, not able to back up his all-star win last weekend, and Robert Wiggins in 14th. And then rounding out your top 15 is going to be Elijah Grant in car number 4. And then The last car to finish is car 56 of Chris Norris. Dawson Kent wrecked early in the race, finishing 172 laps down in 17th, rounding out your field of 17 cars here for the National Sim Racing Coca-Cola 600. Don't go anywhere as we have driver interviews coming up in just 1 second. Please stand by. All right, welcome back to the National Sim Racing Coke 600 driver interviews, just about to get underway, and we'll start with your race winner, Tony Kergel, in car number 13. Let's get him into the booth. Coming home with the win, it's car number 13, defending series champion Tony Kergel. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Man, how are you feeling after 300 miles of wrangling this car around the very narrow Charlotte Motor Speedway? I bet those arms got to be tired.
Oh my goodness, I am dying, Garrett. Oh, it was a long, tough race right there, but we got her done.
I tell you what, and it was in pretty dramatic fashion too, because for the majority of this race, you seemed like the second best car in the race, and then it seemed like it all just came together when the sun came down on that final pit strategy. What did you change on the car, if you changed anything at all, or maybe you changed your driving style to beat Brian Wiggins and pull over 2 seconds ahead of him?
My honestly, my strategy was I built the setup for the nighttime, so the car really came alive there as soon as the sun went down, and she was just flying. But I knew that I was gonna have to pit a lap earlier than Brian there on the last round of pit stops if I wanted to have a chance to get around him there, and it all just worked out for me there. Pit strategy is what it came down to because we were all really similar on speed.
Yeah, I mean, you were always matching him and just could not seem to get past him before that final round of pit stops. So going into South Boston next week, I want to know how you're feeling with this good momentum coming off of a win at the longest race on the schedule, because that's a pretty big shakeup going from, you're having to go into the corners at about 180 miles per hour in these Gen 4 cars to the almost Hell in a Cell style racing at South Boston.
South Boston is definitely going to be a struggle, I think, for everybody. I've been doing a little bit of testing there, trying to start working on a setup, and I don't know if everyone's ready for just how much of a struggle it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a really tough race next week, but we're gonna do everything we can to bag another win here.
Well, before we let you go and celebrate your win just a little bit further, do you have any people or sponsors you want to thank before we let you go?
I gotta thank IRD for sponsoring the series and Mark and Lyle for putting it on, and my teammate John.
Well, I'll tell you what, a very strong win for car number 13, and this is going to be huge in his efforts to go back to back in the championship, because he won last season, and I'm sure you're looking forward to trying to go for it again. But Tony Kergel coming home in first. We look forward to seeing what you can do at South Boston next week.
Thank you so much. See y'all next week.
All right, and then coming home in second, it's going to be car number 3, Brian Wiggins. Let's get him into the booth. Brian Wiggins coming home in third. You led most of the race, and it just unraveled at the last pit stop. How you feeling?
I mean, second place, I'll take it all day, right? It sucks, going for my first Gen 4 win there. Thought I had it wrapped up, but Tony, he nailed the last pit stop. He also was making his car better the whole second half of the run. Whole second half of the race, I should say. I didn't touch my car because it felt good. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I also was pretty conservative going into the pits there, that last stop. I didn't want to mess nothing up, and that was enough for him to get by me, and that's all it took.
Well, I tell you what, through the first about 150 laps, you were an absolute rocket ship, and I didn't even see one slide out of that car. So how was that car handling? Because everyone seemed to be super loose except for you. You seemed to be just straight as an arrow.
Yelling the no, the car was handling great. I spent a lot of time on this is my favorite track, so I spent a lot of time on this setup, and think I had it dialed pretty good. But today, unfortunately, we just didn't come out on top.
Well, either way, if you didn't come out on top, you still came home second with a very strong run and there's some great momentum going into South Boston next week. So before we let you go and ride the good momentum, do you have any people or sponsors you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to thank our sponsor, IRD Racing, John Bittler. Next, gotta thank Mark. Mark does a lot of work, put this whole thing together, so we all gotta be grateful for him. Gotta thank you, Garrett. We appreciate what you do up there in the booth. Gotta thank Lyle for our race control. And of course, last but not least, my beautiful, lovely wife, Jenny.
Well, that's Brian Wiggins coming home a very strong second place finish after leading most of the race. We look forward to seeing what you can do next week at South Boston.
All right, Garrett, you take it easy, my man.
All right. And then coming home in third, your final interviewee, uh, as it stands, is Mark Sakoshi. So let's get him into the booth real quick. Coming home in third, it's car number 8, Mark Sakoshi. A very quiet run from you, but you started way back in 10th. How you feeling?
Uh, yeah, we had an up and down night. I don't know. It's just we threw some things at it, tried to get it a little better. We seem to be dealing with. I don't know if I'm pretty sure everybody's dealing with it, but just with the extra horsepower, just dealing with a tight, loose condition. It's hard to tell which way to go with the car. Um, yeah, I don't know. We were we were okay. We were decent. Felt like we had the fastest car on the track at times. Tony got his car better there, probably in the last, uh, was the last 80 laps or so. We kept pace with those guys, him and Brian, but we were so far behind. We were losing time on pit road, getting down there. Brian was nailing his stops, and um, we just we were so far behind, starting back in the field and only having that one yellow. So yeah, we just couldn't. Not to say we were going to have anything for him. I mean, we were right there with him. So I mean, we can hang our hat on that. That's pretty good for a mile and a half for us. Just came up a little short.
And yeah, so with the final pit stop, you were the first of the leaders to come into pit lane. So is that just to try to make up any time as possible within the window? Because they really kind of cut the ability to make that happen. Because I was expecting them to come in about 35 to go to try to like run it out, but they were pitting with about 40 to go, about 5 laps earlier. So were you kind of banking on hoping that they'd run it long and you'd make up some time, and then that just didn't happen?
Yeah, yeah. I was. Yeah, we were just kind of hoping, praying for yellow at that point. See what we could do with them. If we got bunched up, I mean, I don't know if we could have got by them. I mean, the dirty air it's rough. You really you either want to be on that line and hope that they're running just a little bit higher, or you're gonna have to go up above that seam and try to make something happen up there. You're just following a guy. It's really hard to get back to the gas.
So before we let you go and ride the momentum of a third place finish in the South Boston next week, do you have any people response you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, we gotta thank Lyle for doing race control. We gotta thank all of our viewers that tune in to watch us every week. Gotta thank our drivers that put all the work into these setups and show up every week and make it a lot of fun. Gotta thank our sponsor, IRD. Gotta thank John Bittler. IRD, they're the undisputed leader in fuel system technology. So if anybody needs any custom carburetor work done, give them a call at 727-967-0189 or go to irdracing.com.
Well, that's driver of car number 8, Mark Sakoshi, coming home a very strong third place after 300 miles of racing here at Charlotte. We look forward to seeing what you can do at South Boston next week.
Thanks, Garrett.
All right, and with all that said and done, let me change the camera to scenic real quick. And then get this little graphic off your screen. And that concludes tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series Coke 600. We hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage of the race. Big thanks to our sponsor, IRD Racing. You heard Mark Sakoshi just seconds ago, the undisputed leader in fuel system technologies. So if you want to take your real-world racing program to the next level, don't be afraid to visit the king of carburetors. IRD Racing, great group of people. Always happy to work with John Bittler, and big thanks to them for making this broadcast possible. Big thank you to SKS Graphics and Andrew Schulte for their help with the beautiful ESPN style ticker and any technical bugs that arise with it to iron out. And big thank you to you, the viewer, for watching this broadcast. My name is Garrett Hess. You're watching Fireball Talks NASCAR, and next weekend we're going to Hell in a Cell at South Boston. Short track racing, almost less than half of a mile long, and nowhere to run and nowhere to hide at South Boston for the Gen 4 Cup Series. Look forward to seeing you there next Saturday night at the exact same time. This is Fireball Talks NASCAR. I'm Garrett Hess speaking.